Ahoy, and to whoever I'm speaking to, um, which is everybody and myself. So, and first and foremost for myself, this video is for myself. Lately, I've been having so many ideas coming together in a way that makes sense, and I've not been able to catch them. I've not been able to get them all down on paper. And I mean, these are good ideas that are going to change the world, are changing my world, which means they're going to change everybody's world. Because if this girl can do the things that I've done, well, let me say this: I'm not the girl that did all the things in the past that didn't work. I'm becoming this being who just wants to do things right. I want to feel good. This video currently is not live streaming to somewhere because I have to have a certain number of followers before enough people are listening for the bigger people to get listening. Before like someone like YouTube will listen, I need 1,000 little people to be listening. But what's interesting is this video is for me, with the intent that I want it to help the world. So if I want to post it somewhere like YouTube, which I don't know if that's where it's going to go, then I have to abide by their rules as they are right now. So if that's the case, then this video that I intend to be not live but unedited, so live right now, if I even have to cut something out, it would be something that... Have you ever had those moments where if you spoke too much of what you had seen in your head, other people would think you're crazy? But yet when you step back and you look at it, you're like, oh, I meant those words, but at the same time, they don't mean the same thing. As you go forward with me, and by you, I mean me, I mean us, I mean all of us. Like, I'm going... let's figure out how to make this planet rock. And then maybe when we go to Mars, it'll be like our friend and not like this entity we're trying to stake claim on. There are so many good ideas that are coming to my head right now. Like, one time recently, I had this thought where I compared the United States to a cell. Like, in and of itself, one single cell is not the United States, the planet Earth. So imagine a circle where everything living within this orbital cell was Earth. Right now, as it pertains, like if I just gave them some names from what's in a cell, if the United States was like, let's call it the mitochondria, because I believe that the United States definitely is at a place, and I live here, so let's say that the United States is the mitochondria of the cell. And then you've got, like, I don't know, what is most close to the mitochondria inside the cell? Ugh, I've been told this and learned it so many times, but truth be told, it's not coming right now. And had I, like, planned to say this, I would have had, like, an infograph or something. But again, like, let's bring it back. Imagine, if you will, you've got an orbital cell that is the Earth. And right now, even if the United States is the mitochondria, even if they are the powerhouse for all the great ideas that are happening in our planet, and give or take, that could be right, that could be wrong. But let's just say, in this orbital cell, every other part of the one cell that needs to survive is attacking the mitochondria. And the mitochondria, instead of reaching out and figuring out how the other parts, you know, like I remember them. You've got the, like that striated reticulum, something or other. Ribosomes are in there. Oh goodness. It's like I can picture the cell. And that's why I'm here today, because I can close my eyes, and if you gave me enough time to catch up with it, I could tell you all the parts that are within a cell just from within my head. To make it faster, I'd probably Google it. And I could. My phone is right here. Anyway, that's not the point. You get me. Come back. because I'm going to be sharing things like this the whole time. Yeah. See, I'm going to say this out loud. Normally, if I'm listening to an audiobook, which is where I have gotten most of my information to help me figure out myself as a human being, I take what is recorded at a pace that is a little bit more similar to this. And then, by means for which I am so grateful to Audible, I am grateful to Apple, I am grateful to Overdrive. Shout out to all my peeps. I am grateful for the Mid-Columbia Library in Kennewick, Washington. I'm grateful for the Yakima County Library System here in Yakima. All these people collaboratively, in one way or another, brought to me the experience of being able to speed up an audiobook. Think of how that worked for me over the last couple of years. The information I needed to know and who I've been as a human being my whole life. It runs like this. So, that thing I'm so grateful to all those companies is that they created these buttons where you could speed up the pace that the book was going. So like one of the very first books I read and listened to, and I listened to it before I was able to read the whole thing, was Remembering Wholeness by Carol Tuttle. And I listened to it and I love that book. I love it, I love it, I love it. But if I have to stop and listen to it at the pace for which she recorded it, it's too slow for my brain as it's running right now. So I run it at 2 or 3 times the speed that she recorded it at, and my brain gets it. Now, anyone who can hear me listening to it is like, what is she listening to? So right now I'm at a place in my life where I'm trying to say, okay, most people, if I'm saying 1 speed is too slow, if I'm listening to something at like 1.5 speed or 1.75 speed, which I think only Audible breaks it down, even goes beyond 2. Most things are only 2. Maybe it's Overdrive that's 3. Anyway, there's one where you can pick to run it at above 2, but mostly let's say at 1.75. If I'm listening to something, and YouTube does it too. Like, I'm goofy, I know. YouTube even allows you to run a video that you're viewing at a speed that is faster than it was recorded. So let's say you like watching time-lapse videos because you like to see the beginning and the end pretty quick. You can run a YouTube video at double speed. Now, you still are going to sit through a while. If it's an hour long, you're still going to sit through 30 minutes. You still got to commit to that 30 minutes. But if your brain can run that fast, you only need 30 minutes to watch that video that took them an hour to record. Now then, bring me, when you put a video, I could follow that. You could just show me the first picture and the last picture, and I wouldn't even need to watch the video. That's how time makes sense to me right now. And those are the things that, see, right now, I'm all over the place. True. But what's coming is, for one, and the reason why this video is happening right now, and the reason why this video is happening in such a raw way, like my room, I was sitting where you are, me are, the other versions of me that are wondering what's happening here, are sitting in this chair that you can actually see. I'm sitting in this next chair, and the rest of the room. When I first got out my laptop, because right now my laptop is the only thing that functions as a camera exactly the way that I want it to. So, and I was just checking to make sure it's recording. It is. My laptop is the only thing that records things and the way that I want them to. Now, my phones, I love you, Apple. However, both of my iPhones, this big guy, I think this is the 7S Plus, and I have an 8S Plus. I can't record a video where the sound sounds right. So I went and I bought a mic that will allow me to make videos where when I'm speaking, my voice is able to be heard, and it doesn't matter whether the phone is messing up, or it doesn't even matter. Like this, this element that I have, what other pieces are here? It attaches and it will allow me to, like, this was my workaround when I thought that I needed to use my iPhone. That was the only resource I had, but I was trying to make it work. I bought this thing by Samsung Go Mic Mobile Receiver. And the intention is, there's this guy, and this is actually important because this is part of it. And this is me, see? Let's slow down. This is Christina bringing it back to like 1.5. Because what I was saying earlier is that when it's at like 1.5 or 1.75, the people in my vicinity can understand what I'm listening to. So where I run at like 10 speed, 10 times, literally, I think I would compare my brain to running that fast, as if the things in my head were going that fast. So 10 speed. Right now, I'm attempting to slow myself down to like 1.75. You know, the place at which most people in my environment, in my physical environment, can keep up with my soul's thinking. Because that's what happens. My soul is thinking way faster than I can get words out to explain to other humans. And humans, I mean, this is human Christina. Hi. See, one of the reasons why this video hasn't been recorded until today, which is... Actually, it's there too. Ooh, April 1st. This is no joke. Not a joke. Not even a little bit of a joke. It is 12:10 p.m. on April 1st, 2020. And one of the reasons why this video has taken me so long to make, and I probably coulda, shoulda, woulda made it at least 4 years ago. Like, I probably could have made it before that, but I didn't realize it. But at least 4, but especially now. I didn't make it because of little odds and ends things that I could have actually fixed in the moment to make my plan go forward. But I didn't. Because sometimes when things would break down along the way, I would be like, this must mean I'm not supposed to do it. Well, when you say the words, this must mean, like when you create the idea that whether or not you're supposed to do something is outside of yourself, you then create things that you have to get to maintain that. So in this particular case, I created this concept where this guy needs to work in order for me to move forward. Now here's where here's where I'm getting to like the raw deal of where I'm going with these videos, is that a couple of days ago I had the other part. Yay, it's so close. Wonderful. I had this guy. You can see Samsung Go Mic Mobile. This is the part that connects with this clip that you can't put anything in between. Not clothing, not nothing. Like you almost like pry it and then a piece of paper could maybe fit through. A rolling paper, not even a full paper, would fit through. And so to change that up, to say this is what I believe is supposed to work for me. So I didn't say, this clip doesn't work, so now this is garbage. First, I put it in my pocket, and then I was like, that's not always going to be realistic. So I put this is a hair tie that I cut. And let me tell you, black hair ties make the perfect ties on just about anything. Moving forward, though. That's the piece we forgot. Okay, I'm going to be writing things down because this is just the thing that nobody else cares about. Okay. I've decided I want this to work. I've decided that this is going to be a piece of my going forward. The other day, because of these things that I've done, this guy was hooked onto my tripod, which I can actually see. It's like somewhere in the closet there. Anyway, it was hooked onto a piece of my tripod that was capable of breaking, tipping, whatever. Moving. Really, actually, that's what it was. It was like a handle that could move. And when it moved, this fell. Now, I had watched this thing fall numerous times. And this is where I am taking responsibility. In the same day that what's going to happen in this future story that I'm in the future of this story I'm telling, this guy fell and it broke, is essentially what I'm getting to. It broke. But earlier that day, I had thought to myself, you've got to make a better place for that thing. It's going to fall. Because it had already fallen multiple times. And I thought to myself, it's going to fall. I had thought that numerous times. But in this day, I was like, no, for real. You have so many resources available, zip ties, whatever you need. Make this different so there's something on the tripod where this guy stays secure when that's where it's supposed to be. That all happened in my head. But because I had so many other things going on around me, I didn't tend to it. I tended to other things that maybe or maybe not were more important. And speed ahead to a couple hours later in the day, I come into my room where this guy and all of this are attached to the tripod in a way that was actually very secure at the point that the tripod was just sitting still. Even this guy. But when I started moving the tripod around the room for various reasons, we're going to get to that too. Like, there's big news coming. But we've been trying to catch the progress. We is even something I haven't talked to with most people. And I think that's fun and exciting just to wait for. But anyway, this guy, I come into my room and just because this is easy, like you can see right now that our bed is right here. But if you lift it up, it kind of turns into a Murphy bed-ish. I mean, you still see it, but as far as purpose-wise, it's like a Murphy bed. So for a couple days now, we started lifting the bed up when we get up during the day. And at this particular time, my camera was like sitting up against it over there when the bed was up. And I came in to get something and I moved it. The tripod moved. Everything moved. Everything else that I had attached to it, and it had a thing that it never moved. See, this guy is meant to come on and off. So it was like I was looking for a place that it could come off of, but that I intended to only come off when I wanted it to. At the point that I realized that it was on a place where it could come off when I didn't want it to, that was when I consciously needed to say, okay, I'm going to make it better. Now, there were at least 4 or 5 times that I had that thought process, but I didn't do it. And then, like I said, in that one day, I said to myself, fix it. But I didn't. And I came in here and I grabbed something else and it moved. And I think I was grabbing the tripod, probably. And I would have collapsed the legs. Because this was only a couple days ago. But again, Christina's running at 10 speed at least. Came in, grabbed the tripod legs together. Everything shifted, including what was holding this guy on. Now this guy, I have a kitchen scale. And again, if this was the story I knew I'd go down, I would have a kitchen scale right here to tell you how heavy this is. But this guy is heft. This guy is not as much. And it's also got some of its own connecting mechanisms, so it stays secure when you want to put it somewhere. But this guy, it's got heft, and it's one thing that is on there to make it secure is like Fort Knox. So you're like, well, do I want to have to live inside Fort Knox to be as secure as I'm hoping, or what? That's what I'm saying here to Samson. This is a product review, is essentially what I'm doing. That's all of what I'm doing is a real life. This is real life. This is me living real life and showing everybody now how you can get from being at a place that isn't your fullest to anywhere that's beyond that point. That's where I'm going. Now the story that is a rabbit hole. Sorry, not sorry. And never again will I say sorry, without that, because I'm not sorry. We're doing everything for a reason. Like all these reasons that I'm saying in words right now, we do without the words. And we expect everyone else to go along with them, But if I wanted you to understand what happened in this story, I have to share the story of this. It's asking me something, an update. I'm going to later. Damnation. See, now it made me lose my train of thought. And you want to know what would normally happen? There was a time when I would feel bad because I would think, what is wrong with you? Like, why do you have so many thoughts coming? Well, what happened was I just saw something else, that there are too many words in between, and here I am trying to explain it to who. So, again, I don't even apologize for losing my train of thought, but whatever I was talking about, I'm going to come back to it. And but I'm going to move forward in this, which is this. I have a picture of it. And possibly when I go to put this and you're seeing this, you'll be able to see this particular setup a little bit more easily. In fact, because I feel like all of what's happening right now is my intention to document my life in such a way that it helps me and it helps everybody understand how you can respond to day-to-day stimulants and not automatically decide that they're bad stimulants. I think that might be my overall. Is I want people to feel good. So I want to help people understand how, yes, you can establish your preferences of what's in your happy bucket, but you can also learn how to take some of the remnants that are still there when it feels like it's a negative bucket and turn it into something. Well, we're all in this together, because let me make that the focus. So there will be pictures of what's happening right here. And the whole point is, you know where it's going. You know where it's going. And if this was a sitcom that was on NBC or ABC, you'd be hanging on every last word and wondering what was going to happen next. Because someone would have convinced you before you started watching that this story was legit. Now, I'm setting all this up so that hopefully you can see this story is legit and it's about to be off the hook. And if you're going to watch along, you're going to see something amazing happen in the life of me, which is going to affect the life of everyone, and you most likely. Watching this video today will change your life. Like 100%, it will change your life. And while I can't promise that you're going to hear the exact piece of information today that will change your life, but if you can imagine one single person being able to scan the information of their entire life and being conscious enough to do it, to see where all the variables tie together, what is going to be coming up in the near future is one of these walls, whatever the biggest continual wall is in this bedroom, it's going to turn into a visual timeline of the life of me. And in an attempt to explain the big picture that I feel I've been seeing since I was a child, that I couldn't get enough of the pieces into one place for it to make sense to everybody else, for them to then take it and do anything different. And I would compare myself to many of the great comedians of the world, and not because I've done anything yet so great as them, but because every time you hear their story that made them great, something was going on in their life that made me say, okay, somebody said I couldn't go further than this, but I'm going to, because I want to feel good. Also, I'm realizing that there is more light here than there is back here. And I'm working with what I got, which is also the point of this video. Oh yeah, I mentioned about that chair. I was sitting in that chair to begin with, and all of the light was this light to where, nope, where is it? Right here, like ish, like yellowish. And I want it to be where you see me. This is me. I'm going to be looking at your eyes. I mean, sometimes I'm actually looking at my eyes, which is why I may or may not always look like I'm looking at the camera. Because I'm looking at me. This video is for me, and I'm hoping that by recording this video for me, thank you, Christina. Thank you for being here today. You are very funny. This just turned into something better than I even thought it would, because right now talking to me as like the person sitting in the other chair is like brilliant, and like 10 times light bulbs are going off in my head. Do you know what I mean? If you are like that, then yes, you know what I mean. And if you aren't like that, you knew what I meant before somebody told you you couldn't function at 10 plus cylinders, 10x cylinders, really. Moving forward, what you're seeing in the room right now, I have moved nothing. The only things that I actually moved, this guy was like this, I think, when I first looked at the picture, and I was like, you know what? I actually love peace tea, and the peach kind is my favorite. So I thought, I actually want this video to be something that inspires people to like things or not like things. Well, peace tea is really good. I have no idea what, and by no idea, I mean, yes, I could read you off what's on the back of that label. I have no idea, though, actually what's good or bad for me, but it is delicious and it makes me happy. Every flavor they have, because I have another one. Actually, that is Melissa's. Those are mine. That one is mine. There's only one over there, but we had two from yesterday. Anyway, I digress. I branch. I rabbit hole. That's really what it is. I rabbit hole. Yes. When I turned the camera around, I thought about what it is that I'm recording this video for in the first place. And it's because there are things that I believe I want to do that right now there are pieces that I wanted to do before I did the video, before I did video number 1. And one of them is what's in my hand right now. Now, I can't tell you how many days I have put off doing what I'm doing right now because I wouldn't go and do the thing that you're going to watch me fix within just minutes. I'm hoping. And actually, there's 2 things even more about that. I don't know what I'm looking for. Okay, so, and I'm actually going to set that down and keep an eye out for the Charles. Okay. So I come in, I move everything around. This guy that feels like, I mean, I'm not talking like a pound or 2, not even, but we are talking like half a pound at least. We'll check that later. I'm gonna write that down. Check weight of mic transmitter. I say half a pound. That's how life works in my head. I'm just only now starting to realize that if I write it down, it could actually be beneficial for me, even if just for the joy of seeing how accurate I am. Pardon. So anyway, this guy that I think weighs half a pound, it fell with this teeny tiny cord with this super cute, mostly teeny tiny microphone attached to it. Because it's so easily wrapped around wherever it was within the tripod, was like, no, I am high on the mountain and I will stay here. It stayed up. But this guy that runs through this, that runs through this, that runs to this, which goes into this, which then can hook right back where it belongs. And this cord, the guy, that black cord, and these prongs inside here, it doesn't really super need to focus, but it could be nice if it did. It doesn't want to, maybe. This guy here, well, for one, I'm going to solder it, but it came apart. You knew that's where I was going. I'm slowing down. See, like some people would in the past have faulted me for my speech pace going as fast as I was going towards the beginning of the video. But what's happening right now is that I am settling in. I'm speaking out loud, what I'm now realizing is happening to my body. Because when I first started recording, this energy was like, oh my gosh, I have so much to say. Now what's about to happen is I'm going to fix the thing. I'm going to fix this. Now, I have no, what do we call it? Professional training. I have no, it's that word you put before education that qualifies it for someone to talk, but makes it so that someone who knows the exact same information but hasn't gone to that version of education is disqualified. Formal education. Formal. I have no formal education in electronics. Not even a little bit. Like, I heard of ITT Tech and a couple other places when I was growing up, and I thought, ooh, that would be cool. But I never was in a place to look into it more. It wasn't until probably YouTube and other various times of saying, let me see how this works, that I thought, if I can break something down, I can put it back together. So no formal education or training, but I'm going to attempt to put this back together. Now, what happens in my opinion, the thing that I'm trying to say we can do is, this was part of me being happy. This was part of me moving forward. This was part of me believing what I needed to make a difference, to make a video, like all these other things. I believe that this was a key element, and this key element is going to take whatever time it takes for me to get all these pieces back together. And it's been maybe a week that this has been down, and it matters, but it doesn't. I mean, technically it matters, because the reason why I'm using the camera that I'm on right now is because this isn't functioning the way that I need it. So instead of getting mad and deciding that this, which when I pulled it out looked like this here and this still plugged into here minus all the cords, and this cord completely 100% separate, I remember the moment that it happened, I was just like, but I had something else to go to, and I knew that I would either fix it later or I would fix it later. I wasn't going to decide that, like this thing cost like $115, which is less than having to buy a new phone to record simple recordings, which is really all I was going for. Simple recordings and good volume, good whatever. Anyway, so for many days now, I've been stuck on doing some videos that I wanted to do because this was broken. And today I'm saying I'm going to do it. The rest of it's going to come off the hook. When I turn this back around, that was what I was getting to with this. This is my life. This is life right now. I haven't really decided exactly how I'm going to break down, like exactly who I am, where I am, and all that. But and not because I don't want people to know, but because, skip ahead a couple steps, part of what I'm doing is I'm creating a timeline of my life, like a legit timeline where every place I've ever lived is on there. And if you were to invest any time in figuring out where I lived everywhere else, I wouldn't care if you knew where I lived right now. If you didn't invest any time in getting to know me, then no, I don't necessarily want you to know where I live right now. But anyway, and I'm going to move real soon, which is for future something coming that is big. And this is part of documenting that in a way that says, these people were able to make this thing happen in this way, and I can apply that to my life. And when that happens, you will be able to apply this algorithm that I've figured out about life to anything in your life. So the next step is I'm going to fix this. I'm going to try to fix this right now. And I wonder where the core, never mind. I'll come back to that. Now, there is a piece that looks like this inside. Now, I'm going to figure out how I can make this hold this cord so securely that even if all this heft fell from it, it would be held on by here. But what I saw when I opened this up was that it was actually held on just by this. And if that's the case, then what I'm saying to Samson is, I need this to be replaced, because you've given me a product that within normal use, and companies, like it or not, something dropping from where it was on my tripod, let's say not even 4 feet. And we're talking something with, yes, it's heft, but it's not big. I know all the things, and I am that take care of your shit person. So this didn't break because I don't take care of my shit. This broke because I was taking care of so much other shit that I didn't find that way to secure it. So what's happening today is I'm taking back my energy. What I was saying, I can see my energy slowing down. because I'm about to do something that actually takes my focus. And sometimes that's all life is about. Just focusing on something that's good and beneficial and happy and helpful and all of that, you know? So, you guys are going to go on a tour with me of attempting to fix this thing. Now, this seems simple to me. There's nobody here currently to correct me if I'm wrong, but it's this guy. Then, oh goodness, there's a piece that's clear and I'm not like seeing it come to me readily. Can you please be nice and just show up? Is it on this? For the love. Drop. Found it. You can stop looking. All right. Charles here. Charles. All right. Okay. So there's that metal piece. Story of my life. See, when that moment in the future, this is how I establish what is like a future, like this is what I'm getting to. I am getting to the place where I have a place to set this stuff so that as I'm doing various other things, if my lap shifts, it's not on my lap. But right now imagine what can sometimes happen if you're working on something where there are a lot of parts and the pieces fall. How do you respond to that? I used to be someone who would have probably responded freaking out. Like, why is all this stuff falling around me? And now I sometimes think, why is it falling all around me? But more or less, I'm like, oh, just so that I could think about it and think it doesn't matter that it's falling around me. You know? You know. All right, so this is going to end up going here. Yeah, right there. Now, I don't actually see a reason why these two guys can't just be more secure together, so I am going to electrical tape. It's an electrical situation that I'm repairing here. There are some hot items on the table. Like that soldering iron. I mean, I don't know that that's exactly what it's called, but you know. You do know, because you're me. Can we fix it? Christina can fix anything. That is a program I picked up and installed probably at a very young age, but the first time that I distinctively remember someone else reinforcing that program was a young friend of mine who at the time was like 7 or 8 years old. And I was close to his family, and in that time I fixed a few things for them. There was a Harry Potter VHS. There was a Sesame Street like train, like a train that sat on a track and went around, which is really cool if it works. Well, there were some electrical problems inside of it. Like the battery wasn't able to get everything that needed power power to it. There were some things that were in between, and I remember just taking it apart, finding a small screwdriver or something, opening it up and being like, okay, what's not connecting to make it work? And then I put it back together and it worked. And this young friend of mine, he said, Chrissy can fix anything. And I have remembered that forever. Forever since then. And although I am only recently identifying what I do believe about myself, that is something I believe. That is something that I believe. Other people have reinforced it, that just like this, because see, what's going to happen is I'm either going to fix it and it's going to work here today because I'm going to try to mimic exactly what Samson did to put their item back together, or I'm going to figure out how to get it replaced. Either way, like, instead of thinking, oh, everything beyond what I thought this was supposed to be for me is doomed, it's like, I'm smart. I'm really intelligent, so I could probably put it back together. And if not, again, I can think my way through to where I either have this because I need it or I don't need it. Like right now. Currently, there are probably 6 or 7 ways to record a video right now for you. And I'm worried about this for a few of those variables. But that's how it works, and that's okay. All right, so here's where I'm going to get down to like brass tacks, because this is only a casing. There's nothing about this, but this is already done, and I'm going to crimp that once I know exactly where it needs to be. But for now, I'm going to move everything out of the glass zone. Life is a journey, not a destination. And let me explain what that means. If I now fix this and it works, and I am made happy by the fact that it works, that makes the destination what made me happy. Now, if I don't use this, then that's the end of the story. So right now, fixing this is part of the journey. That's why life is a journey, not a this is fixed. Now, once this is fixed, the journey then can take its next step. It's the same journey. Life is a journey, not a destination. So then what will I do when this is fixed? Stick around. Right now, let's see how this works. You know what? I don't need any of this. Okay, I need that. It's like that meme that goes around where it's like all the papers are on the floor and the guy's like, at the top it's got Friday papers on the floor and the guy's like, fuck it. And then Monday he's picking up all the papers. I love that. I don't even know what that means. Now here's one thing I will say. I feel like, based on what I want to happen, I should probably have these items secure. I can hear Nathaniel talking to his Alexa. Can you? Here's what I'm gonna do. Magical hair ties. Damnation. Not really tight enough, but I don't know that I want to make it super tight. Let's do this. Yeah, like how many times do we hold on to things and then when you let go, you're like, oh, now I can do this quick. I'll get back to you, buddy. All right. Feels good. It's like I need this. No, I don't need it. I want it to be at a certain angle, and I want to see if I can make that happen with the resources that I have right now. That's almost always a yes. Let me rephrase. That's always a yes. And if I take the time to look at what my resources actually are around me. Now, granted, I've been in this place of trying to figure out knowing my resources for a while. So I have purposefully created for myself things being easily at hand. You can choose to not have things that's easily in hand. It works for some people. For me, it didn't, though. It made me disorganized and I couldn't find anything. So now I'm trying to find ways to keep things that I use easily at hand, and I fix everything. So all of this is kind of easily at hand in what I've done. All right. Let's see here. OM. All right. Soldering iron. Anyway, so my understanding of what's going to happen here, I don't know that I actually need more soldering stuff, because my understanding of solder is that it's metal, and that makes it so that it's going to conduct the electricity that it needs to. But just in case, this stuff comes by way of my incredible roommate, Nathaniel. He's pretty awesome. More on him later. Alright, so like I said, there's already some solder here that was part of this getting broken. So let's see what we do here. So this is what I know. This guy, on some level at least, started down in that hole. It's its own rabbit hole. I broke some hemostats yesterday. Not a big deal. They probably were like $2. These particular ones, I think I paid like $16 for them a couple of years ago from a medical supply store. And I got them for something to do with massage therapy. And they're really cool and whatever. On the other ones, the ones I broke, those probably came at like $2 or $3 a pair. So it's like, if at a medical supply store, this level grade is $16 and that one costs $2, the fact that I broke it, I'm like, well, that makes sense. But now what I wonder is, what about when that's part of your medical experience? I didn't even think about that till I just said this. These are the hemostats that broke under the duress of a Q-tip that was being used for cleaning being put between the two. So something of this much was put between here. And again, that conversation that I had where I knew my thing was going to break, I said to myself, put one of those bands on that before you use the actual clamping mechanism. And so, but I didn't, and it broke. So those, I don't know what this is, what those hemostats are now. They aren't even hemostats anymore. What that remnants of hemostats is about, but I also don't need to know right now. I think I have everything. So this is the cord that will go there. Like, what happens if I get this wet? That's how I make like hair stick together and thread. But it's electrical. It's like there's a coil that is totally copper looking, and then there's another coil that's red, but it looks almost like it's got a red coil, but it's so tiny, and I don't want to get a microscope out. So my goal is to get all of this in. Yeah, that's what's happening. Let's see here. I am right-handed. I'm not exactly sure what that has to do with the process, but it feels like it's affecting it. Yeah, that is like basically what's it, because me needing pretty much another hand, I guess, to be able to set this. Oh, goodness. If only it had all come to me just an hour or so ago. I'd have another set of hands. Alright, so I feel like, oh goodness, nope. I mean, it was stuck to it, but it wasn't stuck like it was supposed to. So, here we go. That thing that I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing except for what I learned on YouTube, which is likely enough to make this happen, which is my whole point. It's like the time when I need to be really gentle. See, some people, when they come up with plans, they know exactly what's going to happen in the future. And so they can plan for all of it. Me, on the other hand, all I know is that I'm not going to settle for someone telling me that this is broken. So, here we go. Ah, for sacre bleu. For the sake of Peter Pettigrew, come on. And if you're still watching me put this thing together, this is why sometimes life gets hard, because for someone to figure out something, sometimes they have to figure it out themselves with the resources that they have currently at their disposal, and sometimes that's not a lot. I think what's happened is I again need this to be in my right hand. I also would really like to feel confident with my left hand as much as I am with my right hand. I have always been predominantly right-handed, but in so many instances it would make sense for me to be able to just use both. And I think that's entirely possible in all things. It's like we believe that our right hand and our left hand can speak a different language at exactly the same time while we're playing the piano. Who's to say that if I was to get into a groove of writing something with my right hand and then started writing something completely different with my left hand, what if I could create something where I could write two completely different things at the exact same time? Wouldn't that be nuts? And what would that require within my head to make it happen? It's weird. All right, so this is what I feel. I feel like that is at least as secure as it was the last time. So I'm gonna bring all these guys back up here. Come on. Yep. Perf. You're coming together. And now again, because I actually want for all of this to stay together, we shall use some electrical tape, because there's nothing about that button that is a button. There's a button on this, but that button is just to detach it from the unit. It has nothing to do with this thing attached to itself. So this is just a shout out to whoever comes up with the ideas. I don't understand why the microphone broke so easily. I don't think it should have, even if it fell. Because that's basically saying that the product can destroy itself. And why would you build a product that can specifically destroy itself without also building in the mechanism that would account for that? And that's where I'm saying this is either going to work right now or, I mean, yeah, maybe up front I'm going to just buy another one of these. Who knows? But eventually, the things I'm saying are going to get to Samson, and at least somebody's experience in the future is going to be better, including mine. So the next thing is this guy. Actually, if I do that, I'm locked in. The box. Okay, it came out of there, but I don't think it matters for the purposes for which I'm trying to test. Make sure none of those touches. Now, what I do know about these things, which is very little, is this isn't even mine, so I don't know how it works. I should have figured that out. It's a red light special, but not. Ain't nobody got time for that. All right. Not touching. It's not touching you. I do know what I'm looking for. I'm enjoying this. Let me tell you this too. And here we'll explain why this video is happening the way it's happening right now, why it takes so long, all these other things. These things that I am having to incrementally come to realize I need to do them in this process would be what I would have had to do anyway to make it work. And some of us say the video isn't important enough. I'll put that on the shelf. I'll put this on the shelf, all of that. I'm saying, what if this is the key to it all? And right now, I am just trying to make sure that nothing metal is making these wires be a part of each other's lives. That's basically all I'm saying. And I don't know the rules, but there might even be a chance that I could just put some electrical tape down there. Now, see, in the future, what's going to happen is all this stuff is going to be done. And when you're watching me, it's just going to be real time, me figuring out a thing with more and more resources as each video is made. You know what I mean? Okay, I feel like I've done as best I can. Samson. And for now, it will do what it's supposed to do if it's going to do what it is supposed to do. All right. So here's how I get to know if it works or not. So I'm going to tell us all that normally what happens when I record a forward-facing video, I end up not being able to hear my voice very well. It's like a lot of background noise. It's more of like a shh, and that makes it so that whatever I'm saying, it doesn't come across the way that it needs to. What I am going to do is I am going to turn on the Samson mic. I am going to turn on the receiver, the transmitter, that guy we were talking about earlier. His light's on. He's green. He's green. This is going to go in here, which in theory, if what I was saying before was still happening with the phone, I should be really a lot clearer now. Ew. Pretty sure it's coffee. Anyway. And we all do it, so like I have spit and oh, for goodness. See, now I'm all up close on me and I'm like, anyway. And I'm not even paying attention to this guy. So let's see what actually happens. Has this now made this guy work again? That's a no, but is that... Ooh, that's it. I think, I don't know. Hold on me. We're going to do the same thing over again. And we now know that that was me just playing it, and that's what happened. That was the worst it's ever been. Like, I would have had to know exactly what I was saying and read my lips to have been able to understand the amount of my own voice I could hear in that recording. If there's like a maybe, someone could say it's the case. So let's go again. All right. So this is basically take 2 of me recording whether or not my voice is heard, whether or not the phone is picking up what it needs to, whether or not... Oh, I'm so hoping this works, and the only reason why I wasn't picking it up is because the channel on this receiver was different. So we are going to hook up this guy, and there's like a volume button here. I don't know what that changes. There's it has 1, 2, and then headphones. I think that's part of like where it's going, whether it's going channel 1 or channel 2. Maybe channel 2 is the other guy. There's a thing at the bottom that says mix/2ch. So I'm basically like moving all these things around. Right now it's at mix and 2 and the highest volume. I'm not changing the volume anymore because that doesn't make a difference. So I'm going to change it to 1 and mix. That's 1 and mix. That's 2 and mix. That's headphones, which I think is what it was set on earlier. This is 2 and mix, and 2CH, and 1 and 2CH, and headphones. And so now as I go and I listen to this, I'm going to have an idea of if I fixed it and also what's happening in the mic system. So now I hear nothing, but I'm in the process of like switching out all these options. The glorious thing would be if in one of these transitions it works, and then I'm going to know what it is. What else could possibly not be set right with it? Yeah, it's like coming to the end. But the part that sucks is that I don't know if it's that I actually like got this down here wrong or what. Like I don't know. This may be where this guy is reaching my need to look outside of my own handiwork. I mean, according to my understanding of how this should be receiving this chord, it's right. But according to what this is actually letting me hear, it's not right. Like that's down as far as it can go. So basically what's happened is I have now decided by doing all of that. See, I could, if I had other resources, like say I had $100, I know for less than $100, I could have had someone else do all that work and figure it out and probably even take whatever the next step is to making it work. Right now, I don't have $100 for this. So what is going to happen is I am going to retire this to a place where it can sit until the next step happens. And because there's so many other big things happening, I'm at peace with, even if it's my laptop being the camera, like it really doesn't matter what it is. I just need to make this happen. So anyway. Ooh. See, part of the reason why some people don't want to watch something that's live is because they don't know if the person, like what the point is. They don't know when the person's gonna get to the point. They don't know if there will be a point. They don't know if there will be a point that they care to listen to hear. Like I can already tell when this video comes to the public, it will have a preface video that basically links what I'm thinking right now based on all of this to the video and says, if you want to watch this video, do it, because there will be things inside of it. Or maybe even like they do on YouTube where there's little buttons up here that they go to this. In fact, now that I've done that, like right now in theory and in concept, because I've seen it happen and because I've looked into, like, I have some YouTube videos already, because I already know that, I know that there will be a thing where I can then say, do you see right here? Or this is just me spatially reasoning in my head, like trying to think, if this whole screen was, it's a red light, now it's a red light special. I'm goofy, I know. Anyway, let me set this aside because I feel like I forgot what I was saying, and I totally did. I mean, that's the truth of it. It's like once I caught a glimpse of myself with this glory on my head. Oh yeah, spatial reasoning. That's how it works. This is me in the rabbit hole. Approximately, it's like if this is the middle of the screen as I see it, right here. Yeah. And that actually is right below the camera, which is from where my finger is right now, approximately 1 inch above the screen. Over here is the end of the screen for me. And so let's see. Let's say that one of those videos, the pop-up video, will go right here. And then maybe there will be like another pop-up video that's like right here-ish. And then when I'm getting really crafty, there can be like another one that's like right here. And then right there. See, I know the concept of doing that, so I can even right now in this video where I don't know exactly how to do it, but I know it can be done, I have just laid some spots for where as this video comes out, I can connect it to everything else. And that's the point. I am actually getting to the point of wrapping up this video because right now this isn't the camera that needs to be used for what's going to happen next. And I want to give just a tiny glimpse into what is going to happen next. Like what it would be worth to you to keep listening. See, most of the time when you come up with an idea and you have resources, then you then go off to like the person who, when you have your money and you can go wherever, you go to the person who takes your idea to the next step. Well, I don't have that immediate connection right now. So basically, like I'm writing it down. It says what it would be worth to viewers to keep watching. And I drew a heart because that is what it's worth. I will tell you, it is about love. That is what these videos that I'm going to be making over the next little bit are about. They are about love. They are about choosing to see things from a positive perspective. They are about choosing not to take even broken things, expensive things. That thing cost, to my recollection, approximately $115. Like I said, $115 in my mind. I was like, I went out and I bought, it's somewhere nearby, and it looks actually almost exactly like this one. The other phone. It currently has a cracked screen on it, but when I bought it, it was, so this one is the iPhone 8. In fact, here it is. It's dead. And that's okay. I have one of those like rags that is meant specifically for cleaning your digitalis stuff. Let me clarify. I mean digital stuff. And sometimes I don't use Spanglish. I use Christina-ish. Englina, maybe. Because when I speak, it is a conglomerate of everything I've ever heard in my entire life. That is something that would be worth it to most people to stick around to hear about. Anyway, I'm just cleaning it up because this rag I knew was so handy. And it's not a rag. It's actually a very nice black web, the microfiber meant for cleaning stuff. Anyway, this is the first time that I've picked it up in a little bit, so I'm just kind of making it pretty again. So anyway, this one is like 256 gigs. Like, in the world of what gigs mean, that's a lot. Like, I could put my whole music collection, which can play for an entire month without repeating, on here. So that's like size-wise. You could put something that could like, I could put something onto this phone capable of keeping my mind occupied for an entire month without repeating the same thing. Like, isn't that crazy? That's where we are in technology. This one is only about half that, because I think this one is like no, this is 128 gig. Pretty sure on that. So it's like half. This is 3 or 2, like literally half. 256, 170. Yeah, I'm trying to see math as a visual thing, and I'm visually thinking about other things while other things are running through at 10 times. And I don't care. I was trying to do math in my head, and why? We're going to get to the point without me having to actually break down math. Basically, this phone's capacity is twice the amount of this phone's capacity, and this one's capacity could hold like a month's worth of music. So let's say this one could hold half a month's worth of music or stuff. It's pretty crazy. This one, both of these have the same function. Like, both of them will lose that audio when I start recording, especially from the back camera, but sometimes on the front camera too. So there is that. Like I said, I am the last thing, what it would be worth to viewers to keep watching. What is this about? The plan moving forward, as I said, I'm going to take the most streamlined part of my wall that I can get all of it into one picture, and then I am going to create an entire timeline of my life. It's going to show the year 1981 all the way up to now, 2020, and on really big construction paper. That's just like all the way across the board. And it's going to show each year of my life represented. I'm going to then break down where I was living, who I was living with, and what limiting beliefs I picked up along the way. Now, I don't know if you can visualize this with my words, but me not being able to visualize it with visualizations and also not being able to visualize it with words, like help people visualize it with words, is why people haven't been listening to me in the past. Because my 10x speed, you gotta be 10x speed to keep up with that. And most people aren't, and that's okay. But what it was is that in my lifetime, there have been enough things that have made me say, there's more to be figured out than what is directly in my face. And along the way, I've had many, many teachers and many things that have helped me figure it out. But mostly it's been me saying, this is something I have to face, so it's something I have to figure out. And we live in a world where there are a lot of people who pick up the pieces that make it so that we don't have to figure it out. And at any point that we face something that is like our darkness or our demons or our whatever, and we don't know how to face them, we break down. Now, we live in a world where we all are not having the same conversation in our head, but yet we expect people to know the conversation that's going on in our head. This thing that's happening right now has been, like me being in this video right now and interacting like this, has been swirling around in my head now for years, but definitely over the last 2 or 3, and it's finally only just coming together. So, and I'm going to be able to tell you why it took me 3 years. I'm going to be able to tell you why it took me 4 years. I'm going to be able to tell you why. And this is what it's worth to viewers to keep watching to figure it out. I'm going to be able to take my life, and I needed to take my whole life into inventory before I could see the pattern that would allow me to figure out the algorithm of living life in your most full way. And the algorithm is different for each person. No, actually, the algorithm is the same for each person. The variables are different for each person. But because we only see the variables in spurts, none of us actually get the bigger picture of sometimes our own life or someone else's life, because we only see spurts. What my intention is to take my life and say, okay, the first time that I became a split human being, so to speak, the first time that I became somebody who was acting on behalf of someone else and living under a way that I didn't actually agree with, I was probably 2 or 3 years old. Back then, I didn't even have the words I have now, so I threw fits. What it would be worth for viewers to keep watching, the next question would, like, that I would propose if I was thinking about listening to you girl, yeah, would be, why would I want to listen to me? Why would I want to listen to this conversation that's happening? Like, what is my ability to say it? Now, one of the things, Google, and I say Google because Google is everything that I search. That's where it starts, and it works for me. If it doesn't work for you, use your search engine of preference and search competitive victimization. In the world we currently live in, we compete to have been victimized enough to be worthy of speaking about the topic we're speaking on. Let that sink in. But here's where I'm going to say I don't want it to be like that going forward, but because I need to meet me, where we are right now, I'm going to address that right now we live in a world of competitive victimization. So to meet you there, I'm going to explain what makes me enough of the concept of a victim to be able to talk about these things that I'm going to be talking about. And this is what's going to come up on that board, on that piece of paper that's going to cover. And then you're going to see how the various things work. So, like, what parts of competitive victimization make me worthy, so to speak, to talk about this? My parents divorced when I was like 2. I think that's when it all started. I was divorced a year ago, last year. I was spanked a lot at the private school that I went to, which when you hear the story, it will sound ridiculous because it was. But back then, I was being made to listen to someone else's conversation. I was being made to abide by a conversation that said I was allowed to be spanked at school. Like, someone needed to be calling bullshit on that a long time ago, and I was, but it just got me more spanked. I have been formally diagnosed, and I don't know what formally diagnosed means. Like, I don't know if there's a logbook of people who have diagnoses, and if there is, that's the book that everyone should hold when you go to purchase a gun. What kind of mental things would make a person not be capable of that temporary lapse, like having a gun in that temporary lapse when they can't figure something out? Like, who knows that they can handle that gap with a gun in their bedside drawer? You know, those are the people who should have guns. The people who can handle guns. The people who know they can't handle it, they shouldn't have it. Anyway, but those are totally different stories. And those are stories we're going to get to. Because, let's see. And here's where we're going to get to the real things. Lack of communication, and almost entirely as a child. And as a growing child and growing into an adult, with most of the people who were meant to be my teachers, like the people that we consider your mom, your dad, like the people who should be your people forever. There's not one single person in my life that started at day one and is still here and has been here for the whole ride. Now, you wouldn't be able to see that pattern if you just met me today. But when that pattern is on this wall here, and you can see where Here's where I was born. Here were the people that were there. Here was the financial influence on what was happening to me as a child. And then you see, this is when I moved into this house, and here's when this happened. And here's where you're going to see where Christina found out that, people are supposed to be poor. You know what? There's going to be a span where I'm going to say, this is the age at which I first remember believing that people were supposed to be poor. And 2020 is the year that anything that started back here that isn't suiting me right now is going to get thrown out the fucking window, which is actually that way. And it feels really good. Competitive victimization, so lack of communication, which is really what it's all about. Me sharing my inner world with you and your inner world. But my childhood, yes, that fun one that I go to. Victimization. When I was a child, I met my mother for the first time when I was 15 years old. I had overdosed and was in a psych unit and met my sister, who I didn't even know existed at that point. Now, there's a lot more to that story, and that goes up here with what it would be worth to viewers to keep watching. Let me tell you about how I met my mother in the psych unit, the children's psych unit, with my sister, who I never met, the stories are just so juicy. They're just so like, how did that ever happen to anybody? But they happened to me. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, actually, that gets me to one thing. And if I'm going to put it pointedly, this is the reason why I can speak to anyone who is struggling with anything. Take it or leave it. I have literally taken the items that I believed would kill me 3 times in my life. I have overdosed 3 times. One of those times was when I was 15. One of those times was when I was 34, I think. And it was the month of July, and one when I was 34, and it was the month of September. And at the end of that one that was in September, that was when I pulled the plug on some limiting beliefs that had started back here and started reconnecting to me. But then over the last 4 years since then, 2016, that's when I would have been 34. Yeah. Yes, because I'm going to be 38 this year. 2016, I came back to, I brought a huge portion of who I am back to me. But not all of it. And that's what's happened in the last couple of years, but more so in the last 2 days. And I want to share that with you guys because this day is what I could see 38 years ago. But because it's taken me this long to call bullshit on the patterns, I didn't pick up what I needed to get out of them. So you're going to watch me making sense of my life in a way that if you really want to make sense of your life, where normally a book will break it down in a way that is boring and you have to read so many words, what I'm feeling coming here is this is going to be something for one, I'm moving to Disney World. That's happening. This feed is going to go as much as I'm able to make it happen. Whilst I'm making this all happen, whilst I'm putting it together, one of the things that is going to happen is once I have that thing on the wall, I will be setting up my GoPro to record it in a time-lapse fashion. And what's going to be really fun is that some people, what it's worth to viewers, some of those viewers are going to be the people who show up on the wall. So obviously, when I post that I lived on whatever street as a kid, that street is not going to be watching the video and thinking, oh, that's where I came into her life. But maybe it is. Who knows how streets work? But there will be story by story where the people come in. And you'll get to see. If you're one of the viewers that ends up on that board, then it'll just be delightful. And let me tell you another thing, and this is Christina's big idea. Because a couple of years ago, 38, Christina believed that everybody was supposed to live happily ever after. And I'm mostly confident that happened because I really love Disney. Like, I love Disney a lot. I believe in happily ever afters. I believe in sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. I believe in peace, love, and happiness. Like, I believe it so much that when my friend decided to put a tattoo on my ankle when I was 16 years old, we were like, what? And I said, this is stupid, but let's at least make it something that is I'm going to be okay with for the whole rest of my life. And it turned into that. And peace, love, and happiness. That is what I've believed in since forever. And that's what you get out of this video. However these videos are going to evolve, that's what you're going to get out of it. Is I'm going to be saying, how can I make sense of my life in a way that makes me not ever repeat a negative pattern again? That pattern is going to end me up in Orlando, Florida. That is one of the first big manifestations that I want to make happen. Now, I just brought another word into here that competitive victimization. Competitive victimization. I grew up Baptist. I grew up Mormon. There are a lot of stories in there that I've detached from. Yeah. So, and I could tell that I'm diverging in a way. What I'm pointing out is that we learn things from all kinds of different reasons. Where I put that my parents are divorced, the only thing that makes that something is that I learned things from that I can then share specific to people that are the children of divorced parents. Borderline personality disorder. I know people who have been diagnosed with that, and I know why. And when I look at the details, I'm like, yeah, they look crazy, because when they're saying, come on guys, let's all get to the happily ever after, other people are like, no. And then when they're like, no, get to the happily ever after, they look crazy. They're fighting for the happily ever after, but they get labeled as crazy. And imagine a cycle like that. That's one of my cycles, is my borderline cycle. So each of these things, and you can count it kind of like that. So I've been saying for a while, I need to start recording everything that's coming out of my mouth lately, because it makes so much sense to me. Like, my parents' divorce created a cycle of how I would deal with every single time my parents' divorce popped into my head. When I got divorced, and that's only been a year, that created a cycle of what would go through my head every time I thought about it. Now, if it makes me sad still, any of these things, the BPD, I got spanked a lot, I went to rehab and met my mother, like all those things, if any of those things are still playing out in my life when I think about them and they make me feel bad, that's where our feel bads come from. Because I can't change that I met my mother in rehab. I can't change that at 15 I wanted to eject from this world. I can't change that, which means I have to make sense of it right now. I have to make sense of it right now in a way that makes it so I feel good. And that's what it's about. So, one thing, I am moving to Orlando. 2 things, my girlfriend is going with me. 3 things, I have an ex-wife who I am sure that I have stayed in this muck for as long as I have, because I love her very much. I have an ex-girlfriend who is currently on the streets, sleeping on the streets, and dealing with things that are outside of anything I would have been comfortable with a long time ago. But yet, because of my experiences, I meet her where she is. And that is also what it's all about. Number 4, 5. Ooh, there are bubbles. People are blowing bubbles. I live in an apartment. Anyway, and the bubbles have taken me to a place where maybe I won't even be able to come back to wrap this up. Yeah, I think so. I think it may have taken me that far out of it. And I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, that's a thing that it would be worth it to you to adapt some thoughts. Like, I'm okay with it. I'll figure it out. It's going to work. Louise Hay is really fond of saying, what is hers? Abraham Hicks's everything is always working out for me. Oh, Louise Hay. I love and approve of myself. I love and approve of myself. I love and approve of myself. I do. And see, I can say that readily because that is something that I've trained myself to think over the last year. And that's what things are about. Oh yeah, number 5, what was coming next? So there's the Disney thing, the Melissa thing, the rest of the pieces to the story thing, and getting to Florida. But then the next piece is that Christina's big idea, Christina's big thing, her big bucket list idea that will happen one day, is that once I'm settled in Florida, I want a reunion of all the people that are on that board that I'm going to be creating. A reunion where the energy between me and each of those people who has been a part of my life along the way can come together at Disney World. Like, whether it's me making bank and getting them all in, whether it's like everybody staying in my mansion, who knows? See, right now, I barely have some pennies to rub together and I feel okay. So it's like, and that's a part of what this video is supposed to be about. This, what has helped me the most in the last year since divorce, the thing before old Christina knew would kill her. Old Christina knew that divorce would kill her. So I had to change just to be able to get through divorce and still be alive. Now, I didn't realize that I had made that conscious change until, we'll say, too late. But everything happens for a reason, so I'm not really worried about that either. See, I need to be writing things down because I don't even lie. I'm going at like 10 steps. Florida, the big deal. The big deal is that as those people come up on the board, and maybe you can do this without me having to get it up there to see how it can help your life. Because I want to show with just, that's what I got this paper for. I want to show, this is how I think. This is how I think. I draw, I make things happen. Oh yeah, that's the cell that I was talking about earlier of the United States. Yeah, anyway. So here's the concept that's going to happen, and it's going to happen for me so well by doing all of it. But I'm just going to break down one thing. Like, so up here, this is going to start at 1981 because that's when I was conceived. And then that's when, in my opinion, my energy ended up in a human form, is when my body was conceived between my two parents, even when it was tiny. And we're not debating on what you believe. I'm just telling you what I believe. If you want to debate me on it, come sit in this chair and talk to me about how this is when you were born Earthside, when you were conceived between your parents. Now, that doesn't make abortion wrong. It just means I'm really skipping ahead, but for whatever reason, those words came out of my mouth. I'm going to address it. For a very long time, I thought that my life up until, because this is 2020, this is now, I would have thought that my life up until about 1994, or I'm sorry, 2000, when I was 34 and it was 2016, my belief up until that point was that all the way back to here should have ended in an abortion. Okay? So me as the grown adult at 34 years old in 2016, I believed that I was meant to be aborted in 1981. I was born in 1982. Now, had I been aborted, and I know what I know now, which I think I think what I know now in the flesh, people are thinking they can't get till they're dead. So I think that I would have gotten it right there. I would have figured out what I'm figuring out at 34. I would have figured it out as a as a fertilized egg, as a sperm and an egg came together and made a something, that something, whatever that something is that was created by the two things coming together. That was the new thing. That was me. When that happened, at that point, if I would have been aborted, all this understanding that I have at 34 and 38, almost 38, and that I will continue to gain as I grow older, I believe I would have had that right there. So if I was dead before I even got my actual out of my mother's body, if I had an understanding of what was happening, then I would understand why my mom did it. If I didn't have an understanding of my mom and why she did it, then all these people who are pissed off outside of her belly wouldn't matter, because I wouldn't get it anyway. So this is me saying abortion isn't right, but if you did it, you probably did it because it made sense. Now, here's where we get stuck. Let's say that I did actually have an abortion somewhere in here in the middle. This is the thing. This is too small. And what I'm needing to say, what happens is I can't show it on this. And so then when I'm trying to get the idea to go forward, I can tell when what I'm saying is making almost a little bit more sense than it makes to me, consciously. So I'm recognizing that as I'm talking about this, it's making me think of things that need more things to make it happen. More details need to be presented to you at the same time for what I'm saying right now to make sense. But more or less, because I'm not going to break it down to anything else, the top of my board is going to show my life in years. It's going to show how old I was at that time. It's going to show what homes I lived in, who lived in those homes, the average money that was driving my existence at that time, the other people that were in my life. So like imagine, so technically I would put my mom in this 1981 spot, and she went all the way up to what I think was 1984. So this thing will show my mom as a unit right here of influence in my life. Now, there were pieces of my mom that remained an influence because other people on the board would talk about them. So like say my grandma, she was there. She was there from day one. She probably, I don't know if I have no idea if she knew her son had sex and conceived me. That part I don't know. Maybe she was like, let's see, if this is 1982 and that's when I was born, let's just say my grandma found out somewhere in the middle. Well, my grandma kept going. And that was one of the things that made it so that when my mom stopped here in 84, it made it a little bit easier for me to get ahead in life. Now, let's say this is me at 15, which was in 1997. That's when I overdosed, and that's when I met my mom. So here's where my mom came back into my life again and became a direct influence in my life. And that lasted for a very short period of time. But my grandma was still here. So I was okay. Because at that point, I had established that my grandma was part of my foundation. In fact, this line where I was told, see, I don't know where my grandma started in my life before I had my body and I was outside my mom's body. But while I was in there, I know that my grandma was one of my top supporters from day one. So even if we count me as only being born in 1982 right here, my mom was there at the very moment that my body came out. My grandma was there at the moment that my body came out. I think my dad might have been there, and maybe even my grandma was just outside. But I know that in my life, she was a direct influencer when my body hit Earthside. That body lasted until, so let's say 1999. No, just kidding. I mean, that's when I moved. I moved to a different place, so it felt different. But 2000. That is where my grandma's, and I drew it deep probably because I'm saying it affected me profoundly. In 2000, I was 18 years old and my grandma passed away. Now, for a period of time, I was in this limbo land. Now, my mom wasn't even here up here. So when my grandma died, the people who sustained me were other people who were down here. The reason why I made it, I basically jumped from my grandma to another person who I thought was going to be my family, be my home, be my safe place, be my me, basically. They say we're all a reflection of each other. Well, I was looking for somebody. I did not do really well when my grandma died. Not at all. Anyone who has known me for that long, they know I didn't do very well. Now, here's another thing when it comes to why this timeline matters. It's 2020, and let's say that one of my favorite names lately is Alice. I don't know why, but Alice. And let's say that you're an Alice out there. And you have just met me today in whatever date it is in 2020. Now, you're part of my life, Alice, actually. See, I put the lines on the wrong side. Your part of my life would be like this. It would go forward and it would go off the page. It almost doesn't even exist if it's just beginning. Now, if I'm trying to explain a concept to you about my life, Alice down here who just came in 2020, and let's say that what I'm saying is a very profound something that's going to change your life. But in order for you to get it, all the pieces that matter to make it make sense to you immediately right here, you needed to be someone who, like this is now, you needed to be someone who was here for all this. You know, for someone to completely understand me, they would have needed to be there for me the entire time. Now, here is where a little bit of that competitive victimization comes in. When you start seeing this come together on that big piece of paper, you are going to see a lot of places where there were lapses. And those were the times when I was homeless. Now, there's going to be a time in 2019 where there's going to be a gap. And up here where it's going to say where I was living at the time, it's going to say the backseat of my car. That's why I feel I have the right to talk about the things that I'm talking about today. Because when you don't recognize the patterns in your life and you get in one of those gaps, depending on what other resources you have, because this is what it is. My grandma was a resource, and she was a resource that covered almost anything else that could affect me. Like, I could go to my grandma and she would hold me and I would feel so wonderful. But when I didn't have her as a resource and then I had to face something, there was an issue. Then I moved on to someone else. Now, what happened though, and see, here's the really cool thing. Up until when I was in that backseat in my car and up until the last couple of days, I thought I needed one of these people lines to be with me for me to be okay. And we don't. I don't need anybody. I love having the people that I have in my life, but I am just fine because I have proven by living in my backseat for a month and a half that with not a nary one of the people that will show up on this timeline, here I am getting ready to move to Orlando, and here we are. So this video right now, I can see it says it's 1 hour and 47 minutes long. Imagine that you were my girlfriend. Imagine that you were anybody, like my roommates. Imagine that you were anybody. This is what talking to me is like. Now, because I accept everybody into my life, I accept people who are only functioning at 1.75. And I love everybody, but a person who is functioning at 1.75 and says, me functioning at 10 is crazy, I need to go back and say, okay, if this is crazy, then so is this. And let's at least meet in the middle. And that is what I'm saying, is on every circumstance, let's meet in the middle. Let's make the energy work. Another great thing, as this plays out, and if you're listening to this and your name pops up on this, and there's a piece we need to talk about, or say there's a funny story you want to share that you want to, if you have a story that you want on this timeline, this is my timeline, and you're on it, and you want your point in my life that is distinctive to you to go on this timeline, tell me. That's where we are right now. And I think I'm ready to wrap up this video because my goal is for this to be one of the last videos that isn't live. I want this to be real. I want it to be something where someone could ask me a question in the moment and say, you didn't just fall apart there. Why not? Now, you might think, well, I wouldn't have fallen apart either. Well, then that part of the story wasn't for you. But yesterday, I was doing something. Melissa was doing something over here. We had our bed in Murphy bed mode. It fell, hit my head. And instead of freaking out, I was just like, oh, what in the world? And like right now, I can't really see it. But up into my hairline, there is a bruise from where the bottom of the bed frame, because Charles was on top of it, the bed frame fell and hit my cheekbone right here. And I just kind of breathed it out Because what can you do? It's like you can forward look and say, I don't want this thing to happen. But at the point that it happens, you have to be able to know how you're going to cope with it, deal with it, move on from it, and be positively moving forward from it. Like if that thing landed on my ear and I started crying for the next hour because it overwhelmed me, that's not helpful. That is what babies do. That is what children do. Until we say, you can't cry like that anymore. Use your words. Same thing at 34, 35, 36, 37, 65, 70, 85, 90. I met someone recently who just celebrated her 100th birthday. All of us are eternal, so we're basically the same age anyway. So listen to me like I'm your best friend. That's basically what this boils down to. If you need a best friend and you need to know that someone's listening and you need to know that someone can give you sense of whatever it is that you're struggling with right now, I'm not ready to put my information out here because, again, like, you'll find me. If you're meant to find me, you'll find me. You'll know where I am. You'll know how I can help you. But in the meantime, this is going to be a situation of me taking, which I can see actually right there is the roll of paper. This is Charles's get up. She doesn't really have to be all the way up in there, but she is because it's just easier for us. Right now, my laptop doesn't fully support me just picking it up and moving it around. I mean, it does, but it's a laptop. It's bigger. We'll do a tour of this apartment because, yeah, the big thing, everybody on that paper is there's going to be a me reunion. That reunion that says Christina has believed since she was a little baby that we were supposed to have happily ever afters. But I don't believe that those happily ever afters are meant only for my spouse. And that's what I learned through divorce, was that we are taught in life that certain relationships deem an importance that we nurture them and we take care of them. And other relationships don't deem that. Now, take that in. Some relationships, society has said, we are meant to nurture these. Other relationships, society has said, you don't have to. Now, the problem with that is that the lines got skewed. And so the reasons why someone would have said that you don't have to, they need to be all in full. Like, the only reason why you should not do something right is because you literally cannot, which is never. And I think I lost my train of thought too. Like, because that's another thing that I've been thinking about for a few weeks. Like, oh my God, this was my 10-cylinder thing. The Serenity Prayer came to me. We were coming back from a drive we had gone on out of state, and it's just, I had paper and I was writing and I was thinking all kinds of things. And the thought that came to my mind was the Serenity Prayer. And I thought about how it says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. And that was the only part that I thought about when I first heard it, because in my mind, come to my mind during that drive. Of course, I heard it like a million years ago, but probably literally. When it came to my mind and I thought about the Serenity Prayer, I thought, if God has granted you serenity, at that exact moment, he has granted you acceptance. So to have a prayer that says, grant me serenity for something in that you're also going to give me in the future that is the same thing, it's not the right thing. And so that prayer, in my opinion, is really kind of messing some people up. And if you want to say I'm wrong, then call me on it and actually call me. Like, figure out how to get my phone number, call me. Find me on Facebook, call me. Add a message to this. Like, however this comes to you, shoot me a comment. And now, of course, I am losing my train of thought because I can see this. It's like, it's coming out in a way that's awesome. What was I talking about? That's why I write everything down on paper. See, I set my paper so far over there. I'm going to bring it back until I turn it off. because I want to bring it back to whatever it was that I was saying. I know I was talking about all the people coming back together because the happily ever after that I've been believing about since I was a little kid. Oh yeah, I actually want to write this down. People sending me their points on my timeline. Oh goodness, what was it that I was about to say? Like, where I think that all of my thoughts are profound lately, they really are. So I need to remember it. And this is why I write things down. I was talking about Charles and how things don't have to be little, or they don't all have to be in there, but because things are where they are and it's little, her things are in there. And I want to make a video of it, except the camera that would get me navigating around the room isn't here. All these things are meant for me to do something about it. Let's see. Charles is fine. Check, check. Fix camera situation. And then I just add that to my list. Now, I'm not worried about the fact that it's not working. I've now taken all the steps that I can do with the resources that I have immediately within my vicinity that I'm willing to do. Next step, I'll take it to Best Buy. We'll see from there what we're supposed to do. But fix camera, I get to add it to there, and now I'm good again. I'm here. Oh yeah, call me on it. What is it that you're calling me on? Not my cell phone. That's not my dad. That's a cell phone. That was a really good video from many years ago. Shout out to that. Where did that show up on my timeline? Oh yeah, but that's going to get me back to it, I can tell. Because it is something that I believe is against what most people in my current reality believe is, it could just possibly be the happily ever after. That we are all meant to have the happily ever after. Oh yeah. And I don't know if this is what it's about. But what I do know is that me writing and me making this video and all the things that I'm trying to do are meant to help me with something. Now, one thing that's really cool is that if I don't pick back up with whatever it was that I was saying that I know is profound, I'll watch this and then I'll know. But as it pertains to the happily ever after, it's just what I've been believing for a long time. So anyone that came along on this path that told me otherwise and forced me to believe it created a separated version of me. And I don't want that anymore. See, I didn't follow my rabbit hole enough to get back to exactly what it was that I was saying. That there was Charles in there. There was me thinking that I would take a different kind of video if my other videos worked. There was me thinking we live in a smaller space, but we keep making it more and more awesome every single day. Off the hook. We love it. I mean, it could be about the fact that I think crying is ridiculous, because there's that, and unhelpful. I don't know. This is what I know. And this is why I think what's happening right now. Sometimes when you have an idea and you can't come back to what you thought, if you know it's a good idea, stop yourself long enough to figure it out. And if it's not, then just tell yourself, I'll remember it when I need to. And it will. It'll come back to you. It'll probably come back to you right away. But that's where, in this moment, I'm thinking, okay, what would I do if I was trying to get the next answer? Some people call it meditating. All meditating is you doing something that allows you to slow your body down enough and in a way that people from the outside don't disturb you enough that you can remember your own thing that's going on. So lots of people have asked me, well, what's meditating? Or I don't like meditating, or I've been told meditating is bad. Meditating is pretty much anything that you can find for your physical body to be doing, that your mind doesn't need to be a part of, but that there is an unspoken conversation happening outside of you that makes people leave you alone. Let that sink in. Like moms in the bathroom. A mom should not ever feel bad for telling her child, I am coming to a place meant for me to be in here by myself. And let me not say moms in the bathroom. Older bodies living with younger and other bodies. It's all about how our bodies connect at that point, like how we physically come into each other's life. Now, the older body going to the bathroom, if they don't care whether their kids or whoever else is in the bathroom, then it doesn't matter. But if that mom or that dad or that caregiver or that sister or brother or whatever is going into the bathroom to get away, so to speak, they are essentially going into the bathroom to meditate. They are saying, I want to be able to focus, and I can't focus with you. And all meditating is focusing. I have a message. I'm making a video. That I promise I'm wrapping up, as I do see that it just hit 2 hours. If you are hearing these words, you listened. So thank you for that listening. I will tell you, I'm going to take this video and I'm going to watch it because I know it's helpful. But the nuggets of help are like intermixed in. So I'm going to tell you what the nuggets are, and then that's going to become the list that says, why would you want to keep watching? Is what the things are in this specific video. What else? Like, I have in the past recorded multiple conversations with people, like them knowing, recorded having conversations over harsh topics with people a lot, and been able to show myself how in the past I would have freaked out and the communication would have shut down. But in this case, I was able to talk about something that was technically even worse, and I didn't freak out and they didn't freak out. And so I've been doing that for a little while, just like in a casual effort to figure out how I think and how I talk to people. Let me tell you something that is coming. And for now, it is this, and until I can obtain for myself exactly what I want, let me tell you what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. My girlfriend told me the other day that if I was wearing this mask, that she couldn't take me seriously. And I said to her, you can take me seriously, you just can't take me negatively. Because she's like, I would just laugh whatever you were saying. And I was like, yeah, I probably would. And then I started dabbing and doing like all kinds of other things, and she was like, Now, I would love for this mask to actually be something that didn't look so creepy. But in lieu of that, ooh, what if? See, I was trying to make it not be me. Oh, holy cow. Oh my gosh. OM. Like, what's going to happen is I'm going to pull the hair from back there and Oh, I'm gonna have bangs. Anyway, now that I can get back to what I was saying, my girlfriend says to me, I can't take you seriously. And I say, you can't take me seriously. You can't take me negatively. That's the point. So what if all the conversations that we were having in the future about these, like, things that are serious topics that we don't want to talk about, what if we talked about all of them with masks on? Because here's another thing. If you were trying to tell me something important about you, but you personally were worried that I was going to take it badly, now I may be someone that's entirely different from who you've met before, but if my eyes twitched in such a way that identified you with something that happened in the past, with someone who didn't agree with your story or didn't make you feel good, you would then feel good thinking about how that eye twitch reminded you of that other person. It would have nothing to do with me. So, with a mask, I mean, unless you were like using your hands to be like, I mean, literally, at that point, you would have to start using hand gestures to make the other person feel bad. So, in what ways can you adapt a mask, so to speak, into your communication style? For me, I actually want one that allows for much more air around my face and possibly looks like a unicorn and not this monkey. But this monkey, I'll take it for now. So I'm wrapping this up. This actually is going to be the first video. I'm going to post a Sparks Note version of it. Like, you know, you can read about the whole thing in just a couple of minutes. And then we'll go from there. More to come. Law of attraction is the big piece of it. That whatever you think about, that's what comes. Unlike other law of attraction coaches that I've seen, and I've looked at a lot of them, and I hope to talk to them. Like, I hope to bring them into my home and talk to them and us just brainstorm the things that, like, the ideas that have come to them that I've not yet come to, and the ideas that I've come to that they've not yet come to. And I don't know that they'll watch this, but I'm sure that on some level they will, and maybe a collaborative effort will begin. In my opinion, the reason why the law of attraction coaches that I have been watching and like digging deep into, like, I've probably got at least 10,000 hours over the last year of me trying to figure this stuff out. And then, but at the beginning with the law of attraction stuff, which I found at least a year ago, I found it with the Remembering Wholeness book in 2016. But the real bulk of it came just a year ago when I actually got divorced and was actually homeless and was actually saying, okay, I've got to figure it all out because it's gotten me down to my nothingness. So it means I need to figure it all out, because up until that point, there was something worth dying for within my past. Not that I was worried about within the future. There was something in my past that I thought was worth dying for at 15 years old, 34 years old, and 34 years old. So here we are, though. A year ago, I heard stories from other law of attraction coaches that they would be broadcasting from Bali, or they'd be broadcasting from their super cute house that's 4,000 or 5,000 square feet, and they've got a pool, and they've got all these things, which totally, that time is coming, and you guys are welcome. But, because I'm welcome, and this video is for me, in their stories, they show you how they are there, and they show you that it took time, but they don't actually, and I'm guessing maybe this is what happens beyond when you pay them money. They begin to tell you how they got there. But on those videos, it's really partial. They give you broader concepts. Like, the law of attraction is supposed to have 3 steps to it. The law of attraction is such that you should want something, tell the universe that you want it, and then let it come to you. Like, that's supposed to be the way the process works. You say you want it, the universe gives it to you, you accept it. And what normally happens is we say we want this, and then we also give the universe all the reasons why we can't have something, and then it doesn't happen, and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, they tell you when they got it. But part of getting it is these little conversations that are happening along the way, and they're different for everybody, which is why there's a need for people to be able to explain something like the concept of law of attraction, or prayer, same thing. Meditating and the law of attraction are basically the same thing. Like, the law of attraction says whatever you focus on, you'll get. Meditation says focus on something or nothing. But do something that takes your physical body's focus so that your mind can be let go to do whatever it's doing. If you get into a habit of washing your face every day, and you can do that with your eyes closed, and that whole process takes you 5 minutes, you have 5 uninterrupted minutes where you get to think anything. And those are the minutes we waste, really, when it comes to doing our bigger thinking. We waste time brushing our teeth thinking it's about brushing our teeth. No, we are slowing down to brush our teeth so that we can put our focus on to what we need to. In that case, it's our teeth, maybe. Or maybe while you're brushing your teeth, because I can do that with my eyes closed, that becomes the thing that you're thinking about your next right move. You know, what is the next right thing? One of my favorite songs. I know, it keeps going because the thoughts that I feel would wrap it up are there. But there must be some thoughts. There must be a thing I'm needing to say before I actually turn this off. The main thing, though, is this video series that I'm figuring out how to make right now is the concept of the law of attraction in action. And that's what I want to show. Because right now, I have pennies to rub together. But in not too long, just me working, doing the little things that I can do that are within my resource to do, like fixing that instead of having to pay another $115, which I'll fix it. If it's fixable, I'll fix it. Like, I'll take another shot at it later when it's not here taking up someone else's time. And that's, I mean, all of that, all of the things I'm saying, they're all related. And if how I can jump from one to the next, and a person who hears just that thing can say, yes, that's right, it means they're all right. If we get jumbled because I'm jumping around, the part that's not right is that we're getting jumbled because I'm jumping around, not because the things I'm saying aren't accurate or valid to the story. So anyway, instead of starting this video situation for helping other people learn the law of attraction from the point of view of my mansion in Orlando, Florida, that is going to house all the people who are going to come to my big future Christina reunion, I am starting it here. I'm starting it right now. I'm starting it from this bedroom. And if Orlando, Florida has Disney, where I am now has scenic mountain trails that are similar, and possibly to someone who loves nature more than me, they might be the equivalent of Disney. And I love the outdoors. I love hiking. I love all of that. But I would rather hike around Disney than I would hike around a mountain where I'm going to get hot and winded and all of that. On most occasions. Not all, but that's true of all of us. Otherwise, every single one of us would be out on a mountain climbing every day. Now, to say that that's not my preference, it's not most people's preference. Or you would be known for being a mountain climber. So for me to say, I'd like to be known for going to Disney every day for the rest of my life, I can handle that. Like, if I am the one who is counted as, like, figuring out how to run a Disney marathon at, like, 127, that's going to be me. So, now that 2 hours and 13 minutes is upon us, the part I'm wrapping up is saying this is the beginning of the story. This is me with my resources being limited. This is me using my laptop with just its own camera, which is a good laptop that I purchased a while back in preparation for this, not knowing what it was. See, that's how the law of attraction works, and that's how me breaking it down is going to help you, because you're going to see where this video right now happened in my brain years ago. What you're listening to right now and is being posted on whatever day here in April of 2020 happened in my head years ago, and it's taken me this many words, this many years, this much time to be able to find the words to be able to explain it. So now that I've got that part, my goal is to break it down and say, now how does the law of attraction work for me going forward? Here's how. And take out a few of my variables and put in a few of your variables, and you'll see how it's going to work for you too. And in the end, we're all going to be billionaires. Disclaimer, I don't want to take money from anybody. I do not want the bottom line of a single law of attraction coach to diminish. I simply want something that when a person is homeless and sleeping in the back of their seat and back of their car, or some that don't even have that, could utilize information and get what they needed to out of it. A homeless person with 0 pennies, but the ability to at least be physically and aesthetically acceptable within the library, can typically walk into any library and gain access to things online. Which means that if there is something out there online that is free, that would help a person who is homeless get up to being a billionaire, at what point does a person become worthy of having that? Does a person need to have $127 in their bank account before they're worthy enough to know how to have $1 billion? And maybe so, because that's normally what they say, is that if it's not something you're committed to, you're not going to do it anyway. But if you commit to thousands and thousands of dollars, then you're going to do it. That's true. But it's going to be because of the things that are happening that I'm going to explain for free. So in the end, everybody's going to be a billionaire. That's basically what I'm saying. And it may not take everybody being a billionaire. Right now, it takes me being a billionaire because the things I want to do have other people in control of the resources. And I want to bring the resources back into more of my control for my life. Like to be able to say homelessness is happening and I want to help it. To be able to say that poverty is happening and I want to help it. To be able to say, yes, things have existed in the past and we're still consciously and unconsciously aware of them. But I want to help send some of those things packing and leave only what would make all of us billionaires. Now, at the point that all of us are billionaires, we won't even need cash. And that house in Bali, it won't be exchanged for cash. It'll be more like you are living a good life and you're living in good vibration, and your house happens to be in Orlando, Florida, and your best friend or everybody's your best friend, basically, has a house in Bali that they're living their high life, and you've got the money, and at some point in the future you have no coronavirus because that fits in somewhere. But you fly between the two. Now, all of a sudden, if you have created a relationship with your friend to where they know that you are going to take care of their home and vice versa, they are going to take care of your home, you now basically have a home in Orlando and a home in Bali. Does that make sense? I hear Nathaniel laughing, and I don't know if it's at me. It's probably not, though. He watches videos on his phone all the time. But here's the thing. If Nathaniel only caught part of what I've been saying, I'd look crazy. And let me explain a thing that was asked to me recently. Someone said to me, why do you cry? Like, if I know that everything is going to be okay in the future, then why do I cry now? And that was a profound question for someone to say. Because what it made me realize is that what happens in my head in an instant where I can see the future where we all live happily ever after and we're all billionaires and we all work together and we're all enjoying life, I see that in an instant in my head right now. And the trouble between that happening, that future thing that I know is going to happen, is all the people that are part of my conscious and unconscious existence agreeing with that idea, more or less. So as more people believe that we can live in happily ever after, the more we're all living in happily ever after, the more we're all trying to help each other, the more we're all recognizing that literally if a butterfly flaps its wings in like China or wherever it is, it's going to affect somebody with eggs in Malaysia. Like, who even knows? Like, all the words, the verbiage that we've come up, like, that's another thing that these videos are going to break down. Like, we have words that we use on a regular basis, which means we agreed to as a conversation a long time ago that we don't actually believe are true. So, like, someone once told me I had to work hard. That was one of the things. If I haven't talked about it in here yet, someone once told me I had to work hard. Someone once told me I had to have a job and be hardworking at my job in order to have a place to live and in order to survive. What I've come to realize is no, I just have to know that I'm meant to survive and trust that all the other pieces will come together and they'll look like whatever they're supposed to look like in that moment, you know? This video is at 2 minutes and 20 seconds. No, 2 minutes, 2 hours. You wish. I wish. I don't wish. I love it. I love it exactly like it is. 2 hours, 20 minutes, 24 seconds. I am going to cut it off at 2:22:22. So I'm going to get ready. That gives me like a minute and a half. What else do I have to say? Because it's wrap up time no matter what. I'm going to fix the mic situation. You're going to see the background change. You're going to see my resources change out for some of the ones that I do have here. Part of what will be shown on that timeline is what my resources are right now, which because of things I've been doing along the way, I have resources that maybe the average person who had just gotten divorced wouldn't have, but I haven't always. And I can show you how in a specific instance, if I didn't have those resources, I could still accomplish the thing that I'm trying to get accomplished. And the trouble that I feel we live in right now is if a person believes that they don't already have the resources, they tend to just put a stop to whatever's going on. Whereas that recognizing that you're missing a resource, that's not for you to then mourn over not having that resource. That's for you to figure out how to get that resource back. And that's what I'm talking about. It's at 2 minutes and 21 seconds, 49 seconds, 2 hours, 21 minutes. That. What else here? We've got like, what does that mean? 22 more seconds. I don't know. This is how I actually stop all of my like FaceTime conversations and start them. Like if I'm waiting for someone to answer the phone,